Well, good morning to you, and many thanks for joining us on Galaxy today. It is the Lifestyle Edition. My name is Justin Akadomi. Of course, I'm not alone on the show this morning.
And also Uche Onyekuluji. Like rightly said, it's a good morning, and that is Thursday's lifestyle. I'm sure it's going to be a time when I'll be very refreshing and educated.
Yes, it is going to be very interesting. We'll be looking at two topics on the show this morning. But the second one, I must say, is one thing that is topical that we must talk about. Uche, you heard in the news how people have been committing suicide over depression, and then people just taking their own life just because of some reasons that people might not really relate with. No, you propose to a girl, she didn't accept. Next thing, you're taking your own life, and all of that.
Depression. Depression is really a big issue. And I wonder, I mean, Nigeria has always been a place where anyhow will survive. All of a sudden, suicide seems to be the next thing. And what they don't know is when you commit suicide, I mean, whatever reason it may be, you only transferred it to someone else, because suicide is actually not the way to go. But anyway, we have someone who will be teaching us how to handle
Yes,
such.
yeah. Before we talk about depression, we'll look at something also very pertinent this morning. We'll be looking at caring for children with special needs. A lot of people don't understand that some specific children, require a special need for them to, live normal lives. They need a special education, special attention, and all of that. We'll be looking at these issues on the show this morning. What are special needs? We'll be talking about all of that. We have a guest here in the studio. She is the Director of Family Health, Lead Nurse Africa International Foundation, and country representative of International Family Nurses Association. She is the innovator of Family Bond Nursing, a relationship-based healthcare concept which leverages on family or familial bonds to build sustainable health. Let's make welcome Mrs. Julie Mogu. Many thanks for joining us on Galaxy today.
Always a pleasure. Good to see you.
Good to see you too.
And Happy New Year. I'm not sure we've not seen this yet.
Yeah, exactly. We haven't.
Happy New Year, Julie.
Thank you.
Okay, so let's start with caring for children with special needs. Let's just start with definition of children with special needs. Who are these children?
Okay, these children, I would just try to make this as simple as possible so that the average person will be able to understand. So when we talk about children with special needs, and that's why we call it special needs, they are the ones who are unable to perform those regular activities that other children do. Now, they may have some delay in developmental stages. These things come as congenital defect. So they have delay in certain developmental stages. They are unable to process things like other children are able to. So they have, that's why they have special needs. That's why we have to pay particular attention to them, because at each stage of development, there is some form of delay.
Okay, but does it mean that some of them will become like children with autism?
Pardon?
Children with autism.
Yes.
For example, does it mean that they get to a stage to overcome these, what I call it, threats?
That's why it comes with a lot of care. That's why it's called special needs. So there's a lot of care that is required for them at each stage. A lot of understanding comes into play. So as a result of that, they are able to perform those activities they are supposed to. May not be like other children, but then they are able to still perform and live life like they should.
Okay, let's still talk about this special needs and this special. Let's try and break it down. Uche mentioned autistic children, but what would you say children with special needs? Let's try and get like a broad range spectrum, on this particular children. Specifically, what challenge do they have? Are they living with some form of disability, or is it that they have some hearing impediment or educational, maybe deficiency? What exactly are
Yes,
these?
there are some. They manifest in different forms. There are some that have hearing impairment, they're unable to. Then some are unable to process the learning like other children. So they are unable to identify letters. Some have behavioral problems. So they are unable to relate like other children. They're unable to recognize whether colors or shapes, the different things. So they manifest in different forms. The best thing to do when a parent observes certain changes in a child, or they expect that a child is supposed to, maybe my child's supposed to work at this time, or I'm speaking to my child isn't understanding, or it's as if my child is looking and not seeing. So the best thing is just to approach a medical practitioner. Just get the child to the hospital and have an understanding, first of all, of what the condition is, and then you get appropriate information on how to care for the child.
Okay, let's talk about the care now. Because I don't know if they have peculiar care, or because the special needs means children, they're all in different categories, and of course might be required, different kinds of care will be required.
Yes. Yes.
Am I right?
Yes, different kinds of care.
Okay, can we just highlight some of these needs and the kind of care that is to be given them?
Okay, generally, first of all, care providers, parents, teachers, those that religious homes, those that come in contact with children, generally the public, whether or not you have a child with special needs. First thing first, we need to see these children as children. Okay. Before we even see them as children, they're also human beings. So they have needs like every other child. So it would help to care better for them if we have that understanding first that they are children. And as a result of that, they have the same needs as other children have. So if the child who is able to process things as the child should, the child has a need, every human has a need to feel secure. Okay. So it makes no good to the caregiver and the child with special needs to just abandon the child and leave the child and feel that you should take care of this other one that you think is better or more able than the other one. So they have need to feel secure. They have need to feel loved. They are humans. They have blood running in their veins as well. So they have need to feel loved. They have need to also feel safe. So first, let's see these children as children. It will help. Then another understanding we need to have is that the child growing from age 0 up until becoming a teenager, they have different needs. Even the child that can process things properly, every child has different needs. 0 to 2, 2 to 4, after the formative stage 0 to 7. Then you have those that are preteens. They have their special needs. So there's certain care that is required for every child at a particular stage. So it's important that we understand what care is needed, a child requires at a particular stage. Then the kind of impairment, whether it's a hearing disability or behavioral disability or challenges, if a 2-year-old and a 4-year-old have the same impairment, let's say behavioral this time around, the care you give to the 2-year-old will be different from the care you give to the 4-year-old, because the needs of a 4-year-old is different from that of a 2-year-old. So every caregiver, every parent needs to first of all understand what care
to be given.
Okay, but I'd like us to also look at it from this angle. I don't know how to channel this question, but I'll just use a case that happened. I mean, I've been in the bus with someone who's got some form of disability, and then you just want to assist in any way. I don't know if you understand. I think it's her left arm or so. Okay. And then you're trying to, I mean, one way trying to make things easier, but there's this attack that comes. Whatever you give, they don't want, they're not seeing what you're giving. They want to defend themselves, and in the process of defending, they want to attack. I don't know if you understand the picture trying to paint here. Okay, in a case like that where you want to help and you want them to, of course, to feel there's some sense of acceptability. And in process of giving this care, they feel a bit, I don't know if it has a way of affecting their esteem, where it feels like, okay, why can't I be like why would you treat me exceptional? I don't know if so how do you play on the psychology when
so first of all, for you to understand how the person feels, I'm going to ask this question. How would you feel if you were able to do all of the things, first of all, that you're doing, and all of a sudden, as a result of one, maybe a trauma or something, and then you're unable to perform those activities that you used to perform before, and then you have to totally depend on another person? How would you feel? You wouldn't feel happy
at all.
You would want to do things. Other people are doing things. Why can't I do the same thing? So those out there should have an understanding. First of all, it's not easy for them to accept the fact that I can't do these things when I'm seeing other people do them. So let's have that understanding first. Then how do we relate with them? Let's also understand that they would want to try. As they don't like the fact that they can't do these things, it's difficult for them. They want to try. They want to push. They want to be able to do things for themselves. That would make you feel good. Fulfillment comes from being able to do. being able to offer help. So now they are the one being offered help. So it's going to be difficult for them to process. So the first thing is okay to ask. Do you want me to help you with that? So you see someone is trying to alight from the bus, someone is trying to lift an object. So you're asking, do you need any help? You can ask a regular person, do you need help? So why not? Don't just jump into wanting to help them, thinking they can't do it themselves. So ask them, let them invite you to help.
To help them.
That also makes them know that, okay, you value them, so you're not seeing them as
inferior.
Inferior.
Okay, just to remind viewers, and a lot of people are already calling, if you have questions, we're looking at caring for children with special needs. If you have questions for Julie Mobile, feel free to send us an SMS. The number is now on the screen. You can also interact on social media using the hashtag Galaxy Today. The number is on the screen, so don't call, just send SMSs and Julie would answer all of them. Julie, let's talk about education right now for children with special needs. Looking at the situation that we have in the country, do we really have schools, learning centers that are tailored, specifically to handle such issues?
Interestingly, a few days ago, I think that was in December, I was driving around the neighborhood where I live. Then I came across a signpost. So when I looked at it, it was a school for the blind. And I said, I'm sure I've driven past it, but I'm not sure I've taken note of this before. So I decided to drive in to just have an idea. I said, in case I come in contact with the course of my work, people who need such services, let me know how the services are run. Then they have a boarding school. They take care of them. They had Reverend sisters taking care of them. In fact, there was a parent who came with her child or ward. I didn't ask because I was making inquiries. So when they told her they were going to accept the child, she was all thankful. She just went like, thank God and all of that. And I said, we don't have much of this. I was in Abuja before I moved to Lagos. I mentioned one. They said yes, and they're thinking of proliferating the center. But of course, it's cost intensive. Money has to be available for that. So that's just one of it. And I'm sure that there's a lot more. The internet is there. People can just go and search. That just, like I said, money may just be the problem, but there are schools available and there are trainings available. There's one thing that I tell parents, we don't know it all. The best that we're putting forward in training our children is from what we were taught. So if you have a child with special needs, there are programs available. I think the University of Lagos has something like that. I know there's a lot, there are lots of schools like that. So just get information, get trainings, build capacity in order to answer the question again, there are centers available to care for these children.
The big question now will be the issue. They're much, enough to handle.
Yes, one, and then if they have capable hands, if they have people that have been trained and people that are willing to, because you need to have the rights to care for. So if you're not patient, you need to have patience in order to care for children like that. So they are going to have challenges of facility because there are so many children with disabilities, especially even the learning ones. They're going to have problems with facility. They're going to have problems with funding. They're going to have problems with the personnel, the teachers that will be taking care of them, the care providers that will be taking care of them, because like I said, for that particular school, it's a boarding school, so you need someone there 24 hours. So there are lots of challenges they're going to experience.
Okay, this took me back to some years ago when this actress Shola Shubuale came back, and then she said she was trying to push a cause, particularly for those who were visually impaired, because she felt that they should be accepted by the society. And talking about this, and it just took me back then. And one of them did mention that how can they be part of the society in the sense that everybody has a right to vote and be voted for if you're a citizen of a particular nation. So, and it feels like this part of this part or this sector is being neglected. Yes, they're being cared for, but how do we make them involved in society? I spoke to a couple of them that day, and I realized that they were highly intelligent, very sensitive, and you could see that these are people who can actually bring about change. So now, speaking about caring for them, and also giving them, there's more to it. They become adults, they become parents as time goes on. How do we involve them into the society?
Okay. Yes, there are different ways we can involve them, and then the different stakeholders have responsibilities to play. We have the government, whether federal, states, or local government, they have a role to play. Let it be that any of the offices that we step into, there's provision for those that have some form of physical impairment or whatever form of impairment, they should be able to access any facility.
Okay.
When I traveled, and I do not think we have it here, I stand to be corrected. When I traveled the airport now, I traveled with a patient, and she was going to sign her check. She was in a wheelchair. She didn't have to stand up. So she was really thinking, how was I going to do it? I've not been to that country before. And I didn't know myself. But when we got to the airport, I was so impressed when I discovered that she didn't have to stand up. Just wheel your chair. I wheeled her there so that the window, the opening there was low enough for her to just sign her document. And then she was answered. So let the government have facilities. Let's start changing it. Let's start remodeling our centers that they can, whether you're on wheelchair or you're blind, you can easily access. So let our schools begin to have audio programs that they can listen to.
Yes.
For those who are visually impaired. So there are so many ways that we can bring this in. That's for the government. Then for you and I, let's make room for them. You find someone trying to cross the road. You have someone in a waiting room. You can actually, to make them feel among, make them feel involved, make them feel cared for, respected, and valued. You could just, okay, can I help you with this? Okay, just don't worry, take my turn or something. There's a lot that we can do. It wasn't like this before. It is changing, but we need so many people. Let me mention quickly, I was at a UN program where we're talking about I think that was in December, the campaign against domestic violence. So we attended the program, and one of the speakers there said something. He said that how many people organize events and make room for those with special needs? And that struck me. How many events do we actually attend and have them in attendance? So we should start organizing events, and then let's have people mobilize, whether you're visually impaired, whatever, let them come in and attend the events. So that everybody has a role to play.
Okay, Julie, there's a question. Okay, go ahead.
I'd like us to also address the issue where I grew up seeing a lot of these before, although it's no longer as much as it used to be, but I still find them during traffic. When you're driving past, you still get to see some of these impaired people. I mean, there was the mentality when they feel you're physically challenged, you just have to stand by the road and just become an automatic beggar. And, and some of them just feel you have to live off people. Yes. And so I was thinking if there is some kind of sanitation that can go in that area to make them understand that you're not less of whoever it is you're looking up to. I'm not against giving alms, not against that. But is there some kind of sanitation that the government could do to make these people understand that the fact that you're physically challenged does not put you by the roadside and become a beggar?
Okay, I was driving. I had a meeting, and I was trying to park. So a man just came by and tried to ask for alms. I had my colleague seated by my side. So he wondered, and I'm not sure, I don't remember him handing anything to the man. But within seconds, there was a van, a police van, I can't remember what force that was. They came in and picked the man up. So that just gave me an idea, perhaps, that what the government is doing, you don't have to beg. But the question is, what are you doing to help them cater for their daily needs? It's not just enough to whisk them off the streets. So what are you doing to ensure that they have needs like every other human being? And we don't even know, some of them are not congenital, some of them are secondary. It happened. They could see before, they could hear before, and something went wrong and they can't do those things anymore. So what provision has been made available to help them cater for their daily needs? That's on the part of the government. There's a need to sit back and re-strategize and see how we can help the people. Then for us as individuals, when you find somebody, it's not exclusive to those with disabilities, because there are other people that feel they could just live up. They should live off someone. It happens. It happens. So, and there are people that who even want you to live off them, so they don't give you enough to go far because they want you around. Just keep coming. Maybe it boosts their own ego or something. Yes. So it's not exclusive to them. However, when you find one person with any form of disability, why not offer a word of encouragement? What do you do? How did this happen? Has it always been like this? Let us all search for information. It's all out there, not just for our sake, but perhaps we could come across someone that would need it.
Showing attention, trying to show some sort of concern. How do you do that and not come off as someone who is trying to pity the person? Because sometimes you might have genuine, interest to help or to just give succor to some people, but the approach might be the issue. So how do you go about it and not end up, pitying the person?
The regular slang that we use in Nigeria here, we say, "Hey, yeah,
Child."
Like, so when you go, "Hey, yeah, don't pity me. I don't want that." Just put a question forward. Oh, how are you doing? Treat them. If you can give a handshake, extend a handshake to them. Also, how are you doing? Introduce yourself, and then ask questions. I think this pretty much answers the last comment I gave. Pretty much answers this as well. So you introduce yourself, you ask questions, and then make friends with them. Don't just hit on that at the first contact. Establish a relationship with them first. Build a friendship, and then gradually, they may not easily let you in. But they would want to trust you enough, and trust cannot come suddenly. It comes from a period of friendship. So genuinely establish a relationship with them, and then gradually you get the information, and then you know how you could help. Understand them. This is another thing. We need to know that they are unique. They are individuals, and every human being on this earth have their own uniqueness. So it would do us and them to a lot of good if we strive to understand that uniqueness. Secondly, strive to understand what condition it is they're facing, what their challenges are, and then that would better inform us on how we can.
There's a question here, Julie. This one says, "Good morning. My child has delay in talking and also toe walking, and she is about clocking 4 this year. What do I do?"
Okay, I do not know. One thing I encourage families to do, it's part of the work we're doing with Linus Africa Foundation. We're encouraging families to have at least one general practitioner. Have a nurse that is attached to your family. Have a GP, a general practitioner that you go to and you make inquiries from. Don't wait till you fall sick. So if you have, for the woman, let her just visit the nearest hospital. Walk there. Know first of all. Yes, for that we might want to be concerned if the child is not working and is almost 4. You might want to be concerned. But there are children who haven't worked till 2, and nothing is absolutely wrong with them. There are children who have not grown their teeth. They are unable to perhaps process things like maybe the siblings. So you think something is wrong, and maybe nothing is wrong. But to keep the parent's mind at peace, walk up to a general practitioner, go to the hospital, contact a health person, and then just have a health practitioner attached to your family. So when there are concerns, rather than listen to people around, "Oh, that was how it happened to my child. Oh, this is what is happening to your child," and all of that, then you might land yourself in some form of trouble. So she should just talk to a professional, a health professional.
All right. Then again, let's talk about families, because in as much as you have children with special needs, do you yourself, as a caregiver, your a mother, a father, an aunt, a grandmother who takes care of these children, do you need specific education for yourself, to know how to go about caring for these children even at specific times?
First of all, every parent, every adult needs an education. Like I said earlier, you need to understand the care that is required or needed at every stage of development. And I think it was that was Erickson who said that care should be narrowed to the stage of a child's development. So that we need to find out. Then for parents that have children with disabilities, please let them get some training. They need all the support in the world. And one thing is critical for them. The one closest to them, and most times is the spouse. If the spouse isn't involved in the care, that parent that has that sole responsibility in caring for that child gets overwhelmed with that care and comes down with a care fatigue. So it's important that the significant neighbor, which happens to be the spouse, is close by. If the spouse isn't there, whether the mother, the auntie, or a ride or die friend, we have people like that, but that major or primary caregiver needs all the support they can get. And please, they should actually also speak out.
Yeah.
That is a major problem.
Speaking out.
Speaking out is a major problem. It's not your fault that you have a child like that. Then you shouldn't go through that alone. Talk to 1-2 persons. Get as much support as possible.
Finally, let's take this question before we move on to the next segment. Good morning, Ma. Is there any way you can care for a baby within the age of 0 to 5? Because I have not seen anyone. I think specifically talking about schools. Said is it Parcelin? Parcelin school does not accept the range. I think might be true.
If they do not accept, perhaps they have not built capacity to manage those children. Our schools should grow to a point where we can build capacity to take in any child. They thrive better when they actually mix with every other child. They thrive better, so it's not okay to separate them.
Also, should they attend regular schools?
They can attend regular schools. They just have to build capacity. The staff just have to build capacity. That is it. I would strongly recommend, because they thrive better when they do things with other children. They actually should be admitted into regular schools. Then get the teachers. I worked in a school before I moved to Lagos, and then we had a particular teacher who was trained. So when children come in, they pass through her. Before they get to the next class, they are good.
Wow.
They are good.
That's good.
Because she was special, and she's great with those children.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay. I don't know if this is related. Let me just take it. It's time for time's sake. Good morning. My child is SS. What special care does he need?
Okay. Well, I don't know if I'll say she should contact me, but let her first of all. People shouldn't run from the hospital. Hospital is not just. Hospital is not a place where you go when you're sick. It's a place you can also go to get information. So if you can go to the hospital, make friends with medical practitioners, and then they can actually also get to our website, our foundation. We, like I said, we're rendering family-focused care. We're reaching out to families in the community. We're actually planning an outreach that'll take off from next week. So they can get information that they want.
What's this website?
www.leadnurseafrica.com.
Okay, www.leadnurseafrica.com. You can get information on all of that. All right, we'll rest this segment at this. We'll take a quick break. Julie is still here with us. When we'll come back, we'll be looking at handling depression. It is an issue. We need to speak more about it, and people need to start talking about it. We'll take the song. It's by Ogo, and it's actually on depression. She calls it I'll Be There. Stay with us.